Hello and welcome to Hank Games Without Hank. Who's Milos? I think they mean Manic. Milos is his actual first name, but I don't know why that would be on the back of his jersey. His name is Manic, as you can see there. M. Manic. I don't like that he requested to have Milos on the back of his jersey. He and I would have a talk about that, but he is selectively mute. Today I am going to talk about Manic Pixie Dream Girls and whether Alaska, in my novel Looking for Alaska, is a Manic Pixie Dream Girl. This is something I get asked about a lot, and I am frequently accused of all of the girls in my books being Manic Pixie Dream Girls, as if, I assume not Hazel, but like mostly in Alaska and paper towns, as if I were not aware of this. But yeah, I am. So the Manic Pixie Dream Girl trope is a very interesting one to me because it has a lot to say about like the way sexism and like the way that misogyny is deeply ingrained in culture and particularly in our culture of storytelling, which at least in films is still very male driven. I might talk about this in a future Swoodilypoopers episode, but but it is really interesting to me. So when I was writing Looking for Alaska, I remember being certainly conscious of the trope. I don't know if I knew the word. The word Manic Pixie Dream Girl, or the phrase, was invented by my friend. Oh, we almost had 42 seconds of silence. Remember when Manic scores, he's selectively mute. We celebrate by having 42 seconds of silence. By the way, today I decided to start James Collins. No nickname necessary, because I'm going to try to sell him in the summer. But I'm trying to make him better so that he can pay for Ginger Rampage. Okay, that's all. I might regret doing that, but whatever. I'm trying to game the system a little bit. So the Manic Pixie Dream Girl is this girl who sort of like flits into your life out of nothing, and she's really beautiful, and for some reason she's attracted to nerds, and specifically she's really attracted to you, the lead character of the story that's being told. And she comes into your life, and then she mysteriously leaves it after, giving you many joys and probably some nice, pleasant sexual encounters. But then she has to leave, usually via death, but sometimes via other methods. And this is a very, very... Oh, off the post! It's a very old archetype in fiction. But certainly in the age of movies, movies like Garden State or really, on some level, every movie features a Manic Pixie Dream Girl. Certainly every movie seems to feature men who must sacrifice for women or alter because of their like weaknesses or whatever. I just saw this movie Oblivion that, bear in mind, I'm in the past, not in the present. But yes, I just saw this movie Oblivion that was really shockingly... Man must sacrifice for woman because woman cannot do on her own. Anyway, this whole trope of the Manic Pixie Dream Girl that is embodied in a movie like Natalie Portman's role, or a role like Natalie Portman's role in Garden State, is very powerful. It's very powerful to male nerds because this is kind of the way that we imagine the women whom we admire. We imagine them as more than human. We imagine them as like sort of like playfully, delightfully pixie-ish and clever and quirky and eccentric, but in doing that, we of course totally dehumanize them because that does not in any way resemble like an actual person. Actual people are much more complicated than the Manic Pixie Dream Girl trope, and to be fair, actual people are also much more complicated than like the Iron Man. Clever, handsome dude has a lot of money and power trope. So it's certainly not that... Oh! It's in the net! James Collins! You may not have a song, but you know how to hit the ball with your head. That is one of the things I admire most in a man. Ability to head the ball. I would say context is everything. There's really no second way to read that. Yeah, so it's certainly not only women who are subjected to these oversimplifications, to these tropes. However, the ones that women are subjected to tend to be much less desirable. They tend to involve, not having power, not having like control of the story, not having access directly to the narrative. And I knew when I was writing Looking for Alaska that I wanted, that brings us at long last to Alaska, the main character, arguably the main character in Looking for Alaska. I knew when I was writing that story that I wanted to write a story about a girl who was very mysterious to the boy she loved. I didn't, in truth, want her to be as mysterious as I think teenagers especially tend to read her. I didn't want... I'm going to speak in spoilerese for those of you who haven't read the book. I did not want the central event of the novel to really be that much of a mystery, I guess. Like, I didn't think of that as a spoiler. I didn't think of it as a big surprise. I thought it was hinted at enough ways in the narrative. And so I wanted you... I mean, I thought that readers would be conscious from fairly early on that, like, you know, there was a lot of distance between the way Pudge was imagining this girl and the way that she kind of saw herself. And I tried to reveal that in the narrative. And, like, that, you know, is that a Manic Pixie Dream Girl? Well, I mean, she's certainly being viewed as a Manic Pixie Dream Girl by the person who has access to the narrative. But at the same time, like, I was hoping that there would be little ways in which it would be clear that she was more kind of complicated and troubled than she was letting on. Oh, wow, green eggs and Fotheringham at the end. We've just been a little sketchy in the back since we replaced C stuff with one size fits all. Do I regret it? No, never. I didn't want her to come across merely as a Manic Pixie Dream Girl, but I certainly wanted it to be clear that, you know, Pudge was romanticizing her and idealizing her and thinking of her in a way that she would certainly not have thought of herself, but that, you know, she did in some ways participate in that. Like, she did, I don't want to go so far as to say encourage it, but certainly, like, she got something out of it, you know? I mean, she got something out of the playing of that role. And I wanted that to be the case. That was important to me. I didn't want it to be a simple thing of, like, oh, you know, this is a man who's, you know, treating a woman as less than human. That is the case, but that isn't the whole of the story. So really, and that's true in, like, Garden State as well. Like, I mean, you could make the argument in any Manic Pixie Dream Girl story that, like, it's only a Manic Pixie Dream Girl to the main character. Well, that's a little bit of a cop-out, right? Because if it doesn't become abundantly clear that you're playing with the stereotype, aren't you really just using the stereotype to your own advantage? And I think in some ways, like, that criticism of Looking for Alaska is completely legitimate. That is, in fact, why I wrote the book Paper Towns. You know, because of the arc of the story in Looking for Alaska, the lie, for lack of a better word, of the Manic Pixie Dream Girl is never really fully explored, fully revealed. And so I really wanted to do that in Margot Roth Spiegelman, a girl who consistently, all throughout the novel, including at the very end, fails to live up to the expectations of the Manic Pixie Dream Girl, you know, is in aggressive denial about the reality of the trope, does not seek to benefit from her association with the trope in any way. And, ooh, boy, that is some beautiful defending. I mean, how have we not given up a goal here to the Alexandria crew? So I guess that's a long way of saying that that books belong to their readers, and I really think it depends on how you read it. But I mean, I didn't want her to be. You know, I didn't want her to be a Manic Pixie Dream Girl. I wanted her to come across as more complicated than that, and as you know, and I wanted it to be clear that, you know, Pudge never felt like he had the ability to love the girl who really was, but that he wanted to, and that I think he could have if he'd had that ability, but you know, for a variety of reasons in the story, he just doesn't. Oh, ho, ho, from way outside! Oh, he's big, he's tough, he has a brilliant puff. Other John Green. I mean, he just had his hands on his knees. He was like, I am exhausted, but maybe I will score a brilliant goal from way outside. That was a beauty. So, you know, and the truth is, I think the vast majority of readers of Looking for Alaska sort of, oh, that was a great, you know what, I've been hard on Fitz Hall, but that was a great interception. The vast majority of readers of Looking for Alaska, I think, get and I've been very fortunate in this respect, kind of get what I was trying to do without like being too hyper conscious of it or too obsessive about it. You know, I think most readers of most books just aren't that analytical. They don't think about stories in, you know, in a super literary criticism kind of way, at least while they're reading, at least when they're reading for the first time. And I think a lot of people, at least in their emails to me, seem to get Alaska in that deep way that doesn't make her seem so flimsy or so similar to this stereotypical trope that Pudge is, you know, kind of surrounds her with when he talks about her. So hopefully some of that did come through. But you know, the other thing to remember, both in terms of how I talk about the book and in terms of what's inside of it, is that I wrote that book 10 years ago. You know, I hope I'm better now. Thanks for watching. We won the game. James Collins scored his first goal. He's going to get sold in the summertime. No, Meredith doesn't want. Meredith is fond of him, so maybe I'm going to be stuck with his bald head. Thanks for watching. Best wishes. Hey, Fitzhall.